your Rotary swag. Congratulations. Thank you. All right. Board meeting immediately follows the lunch meeting. Will Tesh, would you do a pop-up, please, about the river cleanup?
All right, so we're gearing up to do the St. Johns River cleanup on June 4th, Saturday at 10 a.m. at the Curtis Lee Johnson boat ramp. So if you could, there's some sign-up sheets around if you guys have an opportunity to put your name down and come out. Also, you can RSVP online as well. So just trying to get a head count. Look forward to seeing you. See, it's on San Juan.
All right. Also, June 29th is our President's Party. We won't have a meeting that day at lunch. We'll have the President's Dinner that night. Encourage everybody, all members to attend, bring spouses, bring friends. It's a very important night for our club. It's going to be a very important night for incoming President Sean and her board of directors. To that end, that incoming board met last night, and the enthusiasm and the momentum and the positivity are just off the charts. It's going to be a fantastic year. I mentioned last week that there is a survey that was sent out to all of us about club health. It was sent out to everybody in the district. Over 20% of our members have responded, which is a really good number. It's a really positive number. That means that 80 of you have not taken the survey. So for President Sean and her incoming board to really understand where to work and where to focus, it's your club, it's our club, it's my club. For her to understand where to focus, you need to fill out that survey. Fill out the survey honestly. If you like the venue, you don't like the venue. You like the food, don't like the food. If you like me, put that on the survey. If you don't like me, leave that blank. I am very, very sensitive, very sensitive. Okay. Family of Rotary, Palmer Bell.
This apparently was a slow news week, so I don't have any reports. Is there anything from the floor? Yes.
Thank you. I'm proud to share that my daughter Grace graduated. She got her master's in sports administration 2 weeks ago. She graduated.
Awesome. Which is a perfect segue to what I should have mentioned last week when we were talking about Aaron graduating. If you have relatives, children, whatever, graduating from school, graduate school, medical school, wherever, high school even, let us know because we'd like to celebrate with you. 2 birthdays this week. Cedric Gibson is today and Terry Vereen is on the 20th. So congratulations to you on your births. And then I saw this about 2 years ago and just came up again because this is May. And it was May 2 years ago that I originally saw it. And there's so many members here that are ex-military, many of you pilots. So I saved it for you all. I also, for a long time, lived in Corpus Christi, Texas, which is a Navy town, Naval Air Station Corpus. And then Kingsville is just down the road where this story took place. Texas Highway Patrol officer was conducting a speeding enforcement on Highway 77, just south of Kingsville. The officer was using one of those handheld radar guns to check speeding vehicles approaching the town of Kingsville. Suddenly surprised when his gun started to register 300 miles an hour and climbing. The officer attempted to reset the radar gun, probably like we would, knock it on your thigh. Tried to reset the gun, but it wouldn't reset and then eventually went completely dead. When over the mesquite treetops on Highway 77, a USMC FA-18 Hornet came flying down the road. back to home base Kingsville. Back at the Highway Patrol headquarters in Corpus, the patrol captain fired off a complaint to the U.S. Navy and said that they were responsible for shutting down his equipment. And this is the part that I love. This is the response that came back from the U.S. Marine Corps. Thank you for your letter. You may be interested to know that the tactical computer in the Hornet had detected the presence of and subsequently locked on to your hostile radar equipment and automatically sent a jamming signal back to it, which is why it shut down. Furthermore, an air-to-ground missile aboard the fully armed aircraft had also automatically locked on to your equipment's location. Fortunately, the Marine pilot flying the Hornet recognized the situation for what it was, quickly responded to the missile system alert status, and was able to override the automated defense system before the missile was launched to destroy the hostile radar position on the side of Highway 77 south of Kingsville. The pilot suggests your officer cover his mouth when cursing, since the video systems on these jets are extremely sensitive. Sergeant Johnson, the officer holding the radar gun, should get his dentist to check his left rear molar. It appears the filling is loose, and also the snap is broken on his holster. Semper Fi.
Thank you, Palmer. Now, Rahul Sharma will give our Sergeant of Arms report, followed by the program introduction by Tom Schneider.
I don't think there's any doubt that the best setup man in Rotary is Palmer Bell. How about another round of applause for Palmer Bell? A lot of our Rotarians that play an integral part in making sure that each week we have a great program, both here for you all in person, where we strive every week to ensure that you all feel a sense of belonging, togetherness, and family, as well as those that join us via our webcast. How about a special recognition to our audio engineer, Joe Springer, who puts on our shows every week. Joe. Assistant engineer Larry Daly is learning the ropes. How about it for Larry as well? Our air traffic control tower manned by Patty Chapman and Stu Irwin each week, ensuring that you all arrive here safely. And yes, even you, Josh Harrison, as well. How about a big round of applause for Stu Irwin and Patty Chapman? Now, each week, I'm also privileged to welcome visiting Rotarians and guests that join our club on the occasion of Service Above Self. I'd like to look for President Sherlock to introduce one of our visiting Rotarians, if he may, introduce to our club today.
All right. It's a pleasure to introduce today Kendall Wilson. Kendall is a member of Downtown Rotaract. She is also an associate at Cushman Wakefield and looking for a warehouse for me currently. So just get out there right after lunch, Kendall, and find me a warehouse. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. And Kendall, welcome to our club today. Also, our guests that are joining us today here at West Jax, Tom Schneider, you have a guest that you would like to introduce to the club today. Tom.
I do. Thanks, Raul. My guest today is Jennifer Mack, and Jennifer works for Highland Insurance, which has an office here, but they're nationwide. They're a Fortune 1000 insurance brokerage. And so happens she's a colleague of Kelly Shaw, who's with the Downtown Rotary Club. And Kelly has been kind enough to send a few guests our way and potential Rotarians, and I've reciprocated. So anyway, it's great to have her here today. I've got two others for the program I will introduce in a minute.
How about a round of applause for Jennifer Mack? Now, I'm going to ask Joe Springer to follow me all the way to the back of the room here. I'm going to make my way to Ken Baker, who has a guest who just arrived. Ken.
Thank you, Raul. My guest today is Allison Loaiza. She's lived in Jacksonville about a year now. She's with a management company. She's a former Interact person. Loaiza.
Ken, thank you. Allison, welcome to our club as well. You know, earlier we saw the presentation of Mr. Rowland joining our club, and we're really excited to have you here, Steve. We really are. And, share each week Rotary inspiration. Today's theme is not new, just better. Paul Harris wrote, quote, "Little which is worthwhile comes without effort. It could not be appreciated if it were so to come. Rotary was not the result of a stroke of genius. In fact, there is little, if anything, even original about it. There is wisdom in the expression, there is nothing new under the sun." But here's what I want all of us to remember as Rotarians. Rotary was the first service organization and the first organization of diverse members to go international. Yet Paul Harris did not believe that its success was based on its originality. Instead, he attributed its success to the hard work of members, which is probably true even today. And that's definitely true for West Jax Rotary. Rotary is special because Rotarians are special. They care, they act, and they give of themselves. That is the secret of our success, although admittedly, it's not much of a secret. President Sherlock, that concludes my report for today, and I really appreciate the opportunity to introduce our guest speakers today. I'd like to call up to the podium Mr. Tom Schneider as well. Tom, please come on up. Have a round of applause for Tom. Thank you, Tom.
Well, it's my privilege to introduce our two speakers today. Before I do, I'm going to make a disclosure. I am under no HIPAA obligations. I am not in the medical field. And I'm going to invite you, if you're so comfortable with doing this, I'd like to take a little poll here, find out how many of us really know our blood type. And let's see a show of hands, if you're comfortable. How many of you out there are O, either negative or positive? Okay, that's pretty good. That's a pretty good number there. And O, of course, is the universal donor. How many are A? That's a pretty good number too. Okay, and B? B, type B? Nobody type B. Anybody AB? That's the rarest type. Okay, we've got a couple of them there. Well, very good. I just was doing that for my own edification, but and to introduce our topic. Our speakers today are with OneBlood, which is a not-for-profit 501c3 organization responsible for providing safe, available, and affordable blood throughout Florida, Georgia, and elsewhere, other states as well. The OneBlood name is a reminder of the collective power we share to save another person's life. You also probably recognize OneBlood because just a few weeks ago, we had the big red bus here for the blood drive, and we will have it again on June 8th. And you'll see at least Scott back that particular day. So we're looking forward to that. But to introduce our speakers, first, Danielle Suma is a donor recruitment supervisor, and she oversees OneBlood's account executives in the North Florida and Georgia regions. She's responsible for development of key relationships and opportunities in the region. She joined OneBlood in 2009. At that time, it was known as Florida's Blood Centers. And she was soon promoted to team leader and account executive, or account representative for Volusia and Flagler counties before assuming her current leadership role in the North Florida, Georgia region. With her is Scott Showalter, who's an account representative for OneBlood. Covers mainly Clay County, but sometimes scoots into Duval here where we are. He visited our club in March as a guest when we had that first blood drive. Scott began working for OneBlood in 2021 after finishing his degree at the University of North Florida in April 2019. Originally, he was going to become a middle school English teacher, but decided to pivot a little bit after taking a gap year, took his family on sort of a worldwide tour, and I'd love to hear about that. We should have you back to talk about that. After that adventure, he was drawn to the employment with OneBlood and the idea of the mission that literally helps save lives. So Scott helps facilitate blood drive opportunities like we've had. He enjoys bringing the big red bus to businesses and events that want to help OneBlood's mission. So without further introduction, I'd like to call up Danielle and Scott to tell us more about OneBlood.
Thank you everyone for having us here today. And as he was asking blood types and, if you're comfortable sharing, we are under obligation not to ask. And that's why he kind of threw that out there. But just some food for thought, 37% of the American population happens to be O positive. 7% happens to be O negative. O positive is the most common blood type and O negative is the universal blood type. A positive is the second most common. A negative. Okay. Like it wasn't me. I left my phone over there. A negative happens to be the third most common. Kind of going in order here. And that is 13% of the American population has that. B positive it's 7% as well, has B positive, and B negative is actually the universal platelet donor. B positive, B negative, A negative is universal platelets, which is used for cancer and leukemia patients. AB positive has the universal plasma, and only 3% of the American population are AB positive. AB negative, only 1%. It is the most rare blood type. And again, with the ABs, both of those blood types, their plasma is more crucial than anything at that point. Plasma is good for 5 years frozen. So as you can see, and little food for thought, I like to do statistic stuff. It's been proven that AB blood donors happen to be more redhead freckled. Kind of crazy, right? With that being said, I began my journey with OneBlood around 13 years ago when my son received 3 blood transfusions. He had a brain surgery. He had a diagnosis called craniosynostosis. And as he kind of gave the introduction to my career as to why I keep my mission and my eyes on my prize is my son. Ultimately, I go into work every day. It's not work for me. It's a career. It's a mission. It's what I advocate for. I advocate for my child. He is going to be 16 years old and he is going to be of age to donate blood. And he wants to give back. He can't wait to the day he turns 16. Him and I discuss it routinely that when our buses go to his high school, I'm actually going to take that day off, but I'm going to be at his school donating side by side with him. I donated for his surgery. I'll be donating with him on his 16th birthday. So his first time being able to give back for the blood that he utilized, he's going to do it with me and my husband as well. So we practice what we preach. And also the number one reason people don't donate is they were never asked. So it's pretty powerful. And that's why we're here. We come out, we talk to large groups. Scott does more of the on the foot groundwork as well, with being front and center with you guys, as well as going to your local shopping centers, going to your places of worship, going to businesses. He is usually that front and face center. I'm more of the behind the scenes person. I do larger avenues, such as coming to speak with you guys today. I help facilitate larger blood drives, such as the Jacksonville Jaguars. I've done the Daytona International Speedway, but facilitating that larger corporate base is where I specialize in. With that being said, Scott has the Clay County area, the West Duval. I have a total of 6 account reps, roughly collecting anywhere between 3,000 units of blood a month for the hospitals locally. I mean, 1 unit of blood separated can transfuse to 3 different patients. And that's where when I opened it up in the beginning and I talked about the different components of blood, red cells, platelets, plasma, goes to 3 different patients. So 3,000 units technically a month per blood locally, that 6 reps divide up within their territories alone are responsible for keeping blood on the shelves. It's pretty amazing. Within our area alone, we have 14 mobiles in our fleet. Throughout OneBlood, we have over 250 mobiles. On our paper, it said 200, but we've recently been revamped. We have all of North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and the state of Florida. We go as far down as the Keys, as far north as North Carolina, and we are steadily pushing our way throughout we're going to the west side of Georgia. We actually just got the green light to Savannah. And that will be more part of our territory. So we're broad spectrum. I have one rep at the moment that's currently servicing Georgia, who is just doing a phenomenal job. I'm sure within the next year, we're going to have to hire another account rep to expand that area. Ultimately, tacking on more hospital partnerships, which ultimately will grow our hospital goal. When we talk hospital goals, we're talking that blood is the only non-manufactured component. We cannot go in a back room. We do not have an assembly line. We cannot make blood. We rely strictly on our donors, and they do it out of the goodness of their heart. Yes, we do have corporate partners that offer up our freebies, our $20 e-gift cards, our Carrabba's gift cards. But I assure you that without those large corporate partners, we would not be able to offer what we have. And with me being in blood banking as long as I have, we used to go out and just offer a t-shirt. So, I mean, and you can kind of see the development of what we were able to brand. And now we are the nation's leading blood supplier. Our partner is the American Red Cross. We actually here in Jacksonville, all the way up into Georgia, house what's called an MOU. An MOU is responsible for all of the military's blood banking. So all of the military, another fun fact, we actually have the blood supply for Air Force One that comes through us. Kind of cool, right? Every president that goes into office, actually, when we find out their blood type, we keep every armored vehicle stocked with the president's blood type. Yep, pretty awesome. Again, with the military, the MOU means that we prep, when we go to our military blood drives, like we do NAS. When we do NAS, all the blood that is collected there, they have their own doctor on property, as well as we have our MDs. What we do is we are able to cross-match that blood and know which military can give to what another, or say then they're going out and a sailor gives to what sailor. We know we can cross-match them to know who can give to who without having to do any further testing in a pinch. So when they're out, if a natural or man-made disaster were to occur, we can have that blood ready and available. When we host blood drives for them, there's blood already stocked in their blood bank on their ships, on their base. We are the only blood center that is within that MOU. They are partnered with us for that reason. We have our Mayport blood drive next week. Same thing. We have all of the MOUs for all of the military locally, which is, we take great pride in that, to be able to give service to our military. And sure, you'd want to speak to Scott. He's, and I do have my business cards out on that table. So if anybody else with other Rotaries want to have us come out and get involved, by all means, we'll come out and we'll talk. We'll tell our story on what got us started. I know that they sent our pictures in at our last Rotary. They actually had my son's story up as well. I'd be more than happy to tell that from start to finish. The majority of our team are lifelong team members. They have a story behind why they do what they do and their mission. And like I said, I left my business card out there. I could be more than happy to put you in touch with the account rep. Reach out to me. I kind of dispersed it out. I do broad spectrum, but this is Scott.
You can see why I brought her, right? What am I gonna say now? She's, I guess I'm the face and she's the brains. So, well, I just want to say thanks for, having us out again. I know I recognize a lot of you from the last blood drive that we had. You guys did very well. I hope that we can do better this next blood drive. Hint, 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 sign up, sign up, sign up. But yes, it's really nice to have us out again. I think that we're going to leave a lot of time here for some questions. I hope that you have some. Danielle gave you a lot of information, so maybe that answered some questions, but please, if there's anything.
No, I appreciate
Please, go
that,
ahead.
Scott. We'll conduct Q&A here in just a moment, but your comment earlier about you being the face and Danielle being the brains, I have to say Danielle Suma is the complete package. How about another round of applause for Danielle Suma? Okay. All right, Scott, we love you. Okay, we love you. You guys do great work, an inspiring story. But at this time, I ask our Rotarians, if you have a question, raise your hand high up in the air and I can walk over to you and we can ask that question. Joe Springer's got his hands up sky high right now. I'm going to make my way over to Joe.
You can quiz Scott. I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
She's my boss, so you know, right?
So the question I have, I understand if you're not asked, you don't give. Got that? The number one reason. What's the number one reason why when someone wants to give, you don't accept it?
I got this. So,
He paid me
Well,
to ask that.
so it's really funny. We talked about this year. So the majority of the time that we get them is, I don't have enough time. I'm scared. Those are probably the most common ones that we get is I'm scared of it. There's nothing to be scared of. Our techs are well trained. They go through a lot of different training to do it. It doesn't hurt. I mean, all right, I'm not gonna lie to you. You're sticking a needle in your arm. It might hurt a little bit, right? But that's the majority of the excuses that we get is I don't have enough time. It takes approximately, I'm gonna say 30, 40 minutes to go through the questions. If you've donated before, you've seen the questions that you go through. If you're a first-time donor, there are some questions that you have to answer. And then depending on how fast that you bleed, you stick the needle in your arm. Average that I can say that it probably takes about anywhere from 10 to 12 minutes to get the blood out of you. So those are the most two that I've run into.
Thank you, Scott. I'm going to make my way over to Chris Berge. He has a question. Chris.
I used to give and then came down with cancer, or it's been gone for a couple of years. Can I give again, or are there limitations on that?
So I can't directly answer that question as directing towards you, but in a nutshell, there is a lot of misconception with patients that have underwent previous cancer treatments. And as a whole, patients that have had cancer and have recovered and have had no signs or symptoms and not undergoing chemo or radiation are eligible to donate as long as it's been within a year from their last treatment. Like I said, in a broad spectrum nutshell, I can answer that question.
Any other questions on the floor? Mike Corrigan, I'm going to make my way over to you. Mike.
Thank you. You talked about providing blood to the Navy bases here in town. Do you also provide all the blood to all the Jacksonville hospitals as well?
So we have hospital contracts throughout all of the state of Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Alabama. There are very few hospitals that we do not have contracts with. The Baptist Health are not our contracted blood center. That is with another blood center. Wolfson's Children's Hospital, that's under the Baptist Health facility. But other than that, we have the contracts with every hospital. Those are the only bare minimum ones that we do not.
Danielle, front row to your left side. Drew
So-
Bisbee has a question. Or Scott, did you need to
I'm
follow
gonna
up?
Add one thing to that though. When you do give blood though, the one thing that we do have now is that 3 days after that you give it, you are notified where your blood is given. So you will get an email that says, this is where your blood ended up at. It's called My Journey. And you go in and so with the barcode that's scanned and your W number that we call it, you will get an email and it says your blood ended up at this particular hospital. So it's a kind of cool thing that we just started.
Add on to that, the other blood center that has the Baptist Health actually do not have the ability to process platelets. So the Baptist Health still utilizes us for their platelets. So for any children that have cancer or undergoing leukemia treatment or that need platelets, they're still going through us. They're just not officially contacted. They just go through us privately. They reach out to our main center on Deerwood. We make sure that those hospitals have platelets.
Thank you. Drew Bisbee, followed by Tom Schneider.
You talked about cancer treatment precluding people from giving blood. What are some other things that might preclude people from being able to donate?
So depending on, I mean, again, a misconception would be, well, I have high blood pressure. That's okay. As long as you know you're on blood pressure medicine, your blood pressure is controlled the day of and you're within our ranges. We do a medical history vital screening. We do a broad like it is 52 questions. It is no joke. When Scott was telling you that questionnaire is pretty brutal, I'll be the first to tell you. Some of the questions they asked are uncomfortable for a lot of people, but we have to ask them. Every question has a rhyme or reason. Some of them ask, have you ever had baby cystitis? And you guys are probably like, what is that? It's actually a parasite that's within the blood. It's usually contracted while being overseas. Again, these are just broad spectrum. So there are some hindrances from giving blood, but they're so far and few between that a lot of people just think, well, I'm diabetic, I can't donate. Not true. As long as your glucose is level the day of donation and you have a good meal, you are eligible to donate. A lot of people struggle with iron. Iron is actually the most common reason why people cannot donate blood. Their iron usually is low, especially women. If they eat red meat, green leafy vegetables, and they're on iron supplements, they do the necessary precautions prior, help boost that iron level up. We do 2 checks on iron. And we give you a window of 10 minutes in between. We want to make sure, and our techs will tell you, they'll do everything they can to make sure we're following protocols. We want to make sure that we're going to get the unit of blood that we need to without leaving you in a hindrance either. We'll tell you to sit on your hands. Get those hands warm, because usually people that struggle with iron, their circulation is poor. Their hands are cold, their feet are cold, their legs are cold. So we're going to tell them, hey, sit on your hands, warm them up, squeeze your thumb a little bit, get those red cells to the surface. That's what in your iron stores run in your red cell volume. So those are just a few. Does that help answer the question a little bit better? It's broad spectrum. So if there is a question that you guys about eligibility want to ask me, kind of off to the side, I'll be more than happy to answer them like directly. In broad scopes, those are the most common reasons that people can't.
Just a quick comment. That iron situation actually happened with my wife when we had the blood mobile here, and she was told to sit on her hands for a while, and it came back and she had
Maybe
a
she was
fine
eligible.
iron score. So
Yep.
you took her blood. But
Well,
here,
We
Oh.
do the sitting on your hands method, and we also have hot packs that we put on their hands
Oh, yeah.
too. And that's in like, okay, you are really low. Like, let's just give you this. We call them hot hands, and
Sure.
hold them, wrap them around your thumb, and keep it nice and tight just to get it really to the surface.
that's great. Danielle, you mentioned at the table, and I'm not sure if you mentioned it during your talk there, but in terms of age demographics, I found this very interesting. What group is among the highest donor or the most enthusiastic donors?
So the age bracket is actually catches everybody by surprise. They're more willing to get on the bus, put their arm out, and give back is between the ages of 16 and 19. Our high school students. Our high school students, believe it or not, are our largest blood supplier. I will tell you, the pizza, the snacks, and the skipping a class period does make a huge difference. But we believe in starting our donors young. The younger we can start them in donating, we are creating lifelong donors. With that being said, they're going through their life knowing that every 50, I'm eligible to donate. OneBlood just emailed me, texted me, I need to go find a blood drive. They know what their blood type is. They're going to know when their children are born what their blood type is and who they can give to and what family member may need blood and if they're eligible to give to them. They're going to know the impact that they make. Our ultimate goal with these high school kids is to mold them to know how many gallons by their 30th birthday that they've given. And when I tell you that some of our high schools, we did a high school this year that broke records, right? It was Camden High School in Georgia. We did 195 donors. That is so impressive. These kids come out, granted, they love the pizza and snacks again, and they'll do anything to get out of class. But hearing their stories, and then the Message My Donor app came out with, they said, Miss Danielle, we got an email that says our blood was used at this hospital. That's so awesome. It is, isn't it? Then a week would go by and they'd message us and say, hey, we just got a Message My Donor. That's so cool. The recipient actually has the ability now to make contact with the donor and thank them for the blood that was used. Yep. And it was a lot of trial and error. We're the only blood center that piloted it and launched it in the nation because of HIPAA. So being able to, we're pretty proud of it. Not to be biased, but you can clap. With that being said, with not breaking HIPAA, the recipient, when they get their blood transfused, whether it be their family member, if it's like we just received an email that had a bunch of, from a children's hospital, had a bunch of parents just responding, my child was undergoing leukemia treatments, and she was just saying, you could just hear the emotion in that mom's voice. And she goes, because of you, your blood center and your donation, my child's alive. Just reading them, I wasn't the donor, but it was one of our blood drives. makes me fill up. It makes me feel purpose again, because I know that emotional feeling. I know that my son wouldn't be alive if those blood donations weren't on the shelf. So to be able, and then our reps got the email.
I deleted it. My cry like a baby.
But it's purpose. And again, when they come in griping, I say, hey, go back and read your email and read some of those, because it's what's going to bring you right back. It reels you in like a fishing hook, because it gives you that purpose to know that what you do every day is putting blood on the shelves for the patients that are fighting for their life.
Such a great form of stewardship, Danielle and Scott, that you guys just shared. I'm going to take you all the way back to left field. Warning track. Josh Harrison has a question.
Warning track. You just got me curious, and you may be able to just open-ended question on kind of the business side of things, where you said you're expanding. So, I understand it's with hospital contracts and maybe some other places you provide, but so what's the end goal? Is OneBlood want to go nationwide, East Coast? How does that work?
Well, in a broad spectrum, the sky's the limit. We recently just contracted, like I said, our sister blood center is American Red Cross. So with that being said, pushing up, they now use our computer system, which is called RSA, Regulatory System Applications. It is designed by us. They loved it. We did a piloting. They said, we want it. Let's do it. Let's partner. And since then, they've moved. That's why you really don't see Red Cross buses around. They've moved their blood banking north. We've moved ours north. We are actually in the works. One of our old CEOs, his name is JB Gaskins, just took over the Tennessee Blood Alliance. So ultimately, we're pushing out. And with him taking over Tennessee, I can assure you that our CEO, Bud Scholl, will definitely, they're best friends. It's going to be another merger, which means bigger, better things nationwide, more hospital contracts, more blood on the shelves. It's going to make things much easier. During some of the hurricanes, for instance, when Hurricane Maria hit for Puerto Rico, it actually hurt us. They were creating our Alex kits, our double red cell kits. So without that manufacturer being able to process them, we were unable to do our double red cell procedures. So we are big on giving back. So we worked with the Red Cross and said, what can we do? Well, the Red Cross said, well, we have a helicopter that's not in use. Can you get blood from your Miami location to Puerto Rico? We said, yeah, we can do it. And we did. But not only did we drop blood off to them to keep their hospitals afloat for those patients in need, but we dropped generators, large-scaled hospital generators that came out of our main hub. So that way their hospital could get back up and running to treat those patients. So broad spectrum, that's where we're looking at our scope. We're pushing out. We want big red buses to be on every roadway when you turn your head. Can't miss us as it is, right?
That's right. Exposure, more people means more impact. Danielle, let's take you across the room now. Here's Mike O'Brien.
Yeah, I recall a question about foreign travel. I believe visits to England, maybe the mad cow disease years ago. But what countries are on the watch list, and can you explain why?
So it's a little bit more detail orientated as far as military within the UK. Is that the general question? Okay, so it's a timeline. It's 5 years or more in the UK, and it's different countries are listed for different reasons. It is in result to the mad cow, Creutzfeldt-Jakob's disease. But we are working with the FDA. They released a lot. So just don't think that, okay, well, I was stationed in the military this time period for this long, I can't donate. Things have released. The best thing I could tell you is to check, because it's going to vary between what country, what area you were in, your time period you were in. Check out to the bus. They'll be able to look everything up. They have what's called SOPs that they can go through and bring it right down to the nicks and crannies. They will make sure they cut and splice, because the last thing we want is to push a donor away when we could put that blood on the shelf. Does that answer that question?
I've got time for one more question, and that'll go to Gigi Carroll as I make my way over to her. Gigi.
You keep talking about blood on the shelf. So is there an adequate supply? Do you have a backup supply? Give us an idea of what does inventory look like?
In blood centers, It's not like banking per se. I know our title has blood banking in it, where you think like, oh, there's a big vault, there's a ton of blood in that vault, like they can just go in the back room and pull it out, right? No, not necessarily. We check our inventory every day. It is red flagged across our company intranet. We know how much O positive, O negative, A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, AB positive, AB negative is on the shelf at all times. With that being said, right now, as I checked this morning, for O negative, we only had 1.5 days worth of O negative on our shelf. Now that's for North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, and the state of Florida. So in the event of a natural or man-made disaster where we are calling for O negative donors because they are universal and we do not have time to type a patient, we wouldn't have enough. For O positive, we have enough for 3 days worth. That's covering for surgeries. That's why right now we are in an increased need state. OneBlood, unless you would ever see a natural and man-made disaster where the Surgeon General comes on the news, which the only time in my blood banking history I've ever bear witness to was in the start of COVID, where he came in, he says, we need blood donations on national media. Other than that, we never use emergency, urgency, or need, because then people flock out. And when they flock out in droves, what ends up happening is we get an overabundance to where it takes the risk of expiring. It's like a gallon of milk. We don't want that. We don't want people's blood to go to waste. We would ideally, if there's a need, people are going to come. If you know something happens in your local area or even in another state, their first instinct is habitat. They're going to donate. They're going to come out. But believe it or not, what we typically suggest if something happens, to give it a day or two, because our manpower, we can't. So when the pulse happened, for instance, I was working out of the Volusia Flagler area. I got a call at 6 in the morning. I missed the call. I was just waking up. It was a Sunday morning. My husband's like, I think you need to check your phone. It's been going off for an hour and there's some stuff going on TV. You need to check. I'm like, no, it's probably another call out. I don't need to check. And he's like, no, you need to look on the TV. I looked at TV. I was running out the door, putting my hair in a ponytail, putting on my recruitment clothes. Because I knew, and I called the boss. I said, what do you need? They were at Tomoka Christian Church. They're like, anything you can fit in your car. I went out there, and if you've ever been to Volusia, there's this long road called Nova Road. There was a line of donors flocking to this bus. I had 2 staff on the bus working, wrapped all the way down Nova, 3 miles long, waiting to donate. Fortunately, our branch was just down the road. I loaded my car with blood bags. That's completely breaking SOP, by the way. We don't transport in our own vehicle, but we do have variances for instances like this, like, oh, this is just a variance. I'm going to sign this and go on my way. Brought ice, brought blood boxes, called for courier transport, which is a transport van. They specifically come and pick up the blood and bring it to be manufactured. We had to tell donors, can you hold off a day? Because again, we don't have the manpower, even in our labs, because what's going to happen? Blood is only good on ice for 8 hours. It needs to be processed. So if we got boxes of blood just stacking up, you're taking the risk of it expiring. It's human nature. They're going to come out, but we want to space out that time frame. And it is all hands on deck. Believe me, we have people come in from all over, whether they're on PTO, time off, doesn't matter. Our staff are diligent. They are dedicated. But again, we only have, in Jacksonville alone, we have 60 donor service staff, 20 team leads, but we have 14 mobiles in our fleet. So if a natural or man-made disaster were to occur, I would literally cancel every blood drive and go as close to the area as I could and open every bus. We have plans of action, and we would make sure we advertised it. These are where our buses are. This is why they're going to be positioned where they're at.
Danielle, the producers are screaming in my ear, 30 seconds, 30 seconds. Bill Howie, last word.
21 years ago, almost to the date, my wife and I noticed that my daughter had not much energy. To make a long story short, she was diagnosed with acute lymphocytic leukemia. When the word got to the Rotary Club, there were more people giving blood than ever before. Today, Julia has survived. She has two beautiful children. So we do thank you. It is.
Powerful testimonial
It
from Bill
absolutely is.
Howie and Scott Showalter, Danielle Suma. We can't thank you enough. Thank you so much for being here today. President Ike, I'm going to send it back to you at the podium. How about a round of applause again for Danielle Suma and Scott Showalter? President Sherlock.
Thank you, Danielle, Scott. Thank you so much. I do have a couple of gifts for you. We'll hook up right after the meeting. Tokens you can put in your pocket, put on your desk to remind you of us and our mission, and also remind you that we really appreciate what you do in our communities. Okay, couple of other quick announcements. Larry Daly completed Rotary Leadership Institute 3 in DeLand, Florida this weekend. Congratulations, Larry. Big commitment, big commitment. Welcome our newest Rotarian, Stephen Rowland again. Thank you, Stephen. All of our guests today, please come back. Kendall Wilson, a lot of our longtime members may remember Charlie Wilson. Kendall is Charlie's granddaughter. So if you remember Charlie, you feel old now. So congratulations. Josh Harrison will lead us in our four-way test.
Yes, sir. Fellow Rotarians, you please join me in the four-way test of things we think, say, and do. First, second, third, and fourth.
Normally I close the meeting with a quote, but I have another important announcement, a couple of important announcements. Next week's speaker will be here at Timaquana for lunch. We'll be simulcasting on Zoom. The speaker will be Dr. Albert Lowe, economics professor at UNF. Anybody that's concerned about inflation, how much you're paying for gas at the pump, that kind of stuff, Dr. Lowe is the guy you need to hear. So it's a must attend event. And to close, I want to recognize our own Patty Chapman. It's her birthday tomorrow. So the quote of the day, sometimes I have a theme. Sometimes I think about this stuff. Sometimes it's a quote I like. I was really thinking about summer coming. I was thinking about being by the pool, being outside by the pool, like I can't wait to be. And I was looking for pool quotes. So the quote of the day is, yeah, I don't really sit by the pool anymore. That quote's by Venetian merchant and explorer Marco Polo.